Hi everyone, this is Thomas again at Cottonwood Quilt Shop, and today what I'm going to do is show you guys a set of feet that I feel like are often overlooked and have a really cool effect when you're showing. I'm talking about the pin tucking feet by BERNINA. BERNINA actually has 4 different feet for pin tucking with different sizes. So you have the widest one going from 30, then you have 31, 32, and 33, which creates the smallest pin tucks. So when you look at these feet, you're always going to check on the bottom how wide these grooves are, because this is how much the fabric is going to get sucked up into the groove. And then you're going to want to get a twin needle that is the same width as one of these grooves. And I've made a little sample here which shows how different these feet are. This is number 30, the one that creates the largest pin tucks, 31, 32, all the way down to 33, that creates the most narrow pin tucks with this little twin needle here. All right, so now I've put on our foot number 30, which is the widest one, and I've threaded the machine with 2 threads on top going into the twin needles and 1 thread on the bobbin. So what I'm going to do is just put down my foot and sew a sample for you. All you have to do is really just press the pedal and it does everything for you. As you can see in the back here, it's pulling the fabric up, creating that pin tuck. Also notice that I'm using the new BERNINA 335. This is the next generation version of what we previously had that was looking like this. That's the 25, but it looks very similar to the 35. You now have a nice LED screen on your sewing machine, and you can also control foot pressure. It's also just a really cute machine. So let's have a look at how this looks for us. We have our pin tuck. You can see that these grooves pulled the fabric up, and on the bottom we have our back and forth. Another thing you can do with these pin tucks is actually put some yarn below it to give them a bit more body. So what you're going to do for that is take your stitch plate off, pull your yarn through like this, and then go through this little hole in the stitch plate that every BERNINA stitch plate has. And then while you're doing that, you're just going to plop your stitch plate back on like this, and you have some yarn going through. So now I can put my foot back on, get my bobbin thread, I'm going to leave the door of my bobbin open so that the yarn can get fed through, and I'm going to sew another sample. And you really don't have to do much with the yarn. You just leave it there and it's going to go through the bottom very nicely. All right, let's look at the result. See how this is now has a bit more body, and our yarn just went nicely through our pin tuck on the inside. So let me show you some examples of what you can actually make with this. I've made a t-shirt here which has pin tucks all over it, and that was with the same foot that I just used, and it has the same yarn inside of it. And I just went all directions also in the back, and it looks really cool. I did the same with this shirt. In this case I used foot number 31, and it created some really nice dimensions on the shirt. But I can imagine you using this as well on like some quilt tops. If you just want to add some dimension to what you're making, these feet are really awesome, and I definitely recommend trying them out.